GHS 5 billion paid as bribe in Ghana in 2021 survey. Okay, 5 billion. I don't know how much. Almost $477 million. That's a lot of money only on bribe. So let's get into this video. The title of this video is kind of really interesting. It says corruption in Ghana, GHS, similar to what is on the thumbnail, paid as bribe. That's 5 billion Ghanaian cedis in Ghana. That's only in 1 year, right? 2021, based on the survey. I think one of the most interesting things, it doesn't have a lot of comments, right? But let's take a look at one particular one that I think we can read.
Even corruption goes on in the Jubilee House.
Corruption goes on in the Jubilee House. Basically, the Jubilee House is the presidential palace in Accra. I don't think head of states or presidents on the African continent should be living in palaces. I really don't. This is my opinion only. I think they should be living in apartments, right? Why? Because majority of the people are doing very, very poorly. They're not doing well. So let's listen to the next comment.
The bribery will not end in Africa as far as workers' salary is low. Imagine in Finland I learnt even waiters in restaurants etc. don't take tips because they say their salary is very big enough, and they don't need tips after giving a client services.
Isn't that an interesting thing? Ghanaians do not really want to hear that. They would say, wait a minute, Ghana is not Finland, right? This is really, this is a lesson from Isaac Bomo 27:38. It says the bribery would not end in Africa as far as workers' salary is low. That is really true. If you're not paying people very well, what do you expect? What do you expect? Right? If the salary of the average person in Ghana is not really enough for them to take care of their family, to pay their bills. When I look at a country like Ghana, I always say the numbers do not add up. If the numbers do not add up, you're always going to end up having a lot of problems in your country. Now you have a big problem in your hand. He said, imagine in Finland. Since we are copying European countries and American countries, we can take something, we can take a tip, okay, an idea from them that is very good, and then we can implement it. He said, Finland, I learned even waiters in restaurants, etc., do not take tips because they say their salary is enough. And they don't need tips after giving a client a service. Yeah, it's a customer service. Why do you need a tip for a customer service? Something that you're being paid, a particular job that you're being paid to do. So let's take a look at the next comment. I like this comment because I think the politicians in Africa should be reading these comments instead of watching videos, because the comments come from people, come from deep inside the struggle and the suffering of the people. Just by reading the comment are just like the raw feedback, right? Let's take a look at this from Maxwell.
Root cause of corruption is greed, harsh living conditions, lack of proper financial oversight, big government, lack of punitive measures, a culture that celebrates wealth without questioning the source of the wealth.
Exactly. The root cause of corruption is greed, and I bet you there is so much greed in Africa, there is so much greed in Accra, there is so much greed in Ghana. It's unbelievable. Harsh living conditions, lack of proper financial oversight, big government. My hope is that AI could be able to run countries and cities and neighborhoods better than human beings, because human beings have emotions, and our emotions are our God. They corrupt us, right? They make us do things that we're not supposed to do. So if you get rid of human beings, you implement machines. Hopefully, this is my hope, that AI can be able to do a better job in terms of running countries, managing countries, maintaining countries. After all, there are 3D construction companies here in the Netherlands. I think I read that one of the best companies that use 3D technology to build houses is located here in the Netherlands. The machines I had are very, very expensive, 300,000, 400,000. Okay, in one day they could just build a whole home instead of 3 years. The average developer would probably take about 2-3 years, and they'll be charging a whole bunch of money, delays, right, and all kinds of stuff. So let's take a look at this. It's a lack of punitive measures. Exactly. Especially in a country like Ghana, there are people that they are just above the law. They are just literally above the law. The country belongs to them, right? And then he also talks about the culture that celebrates wealth. You see, the culture that celebrates wealth without questioning the source of the wealth. And if you go to Ghana, it's the same thing. They don't care where you get your money. They don't really care. They just celebrate it. Let's take a look at this guy. Okay. Alkebulan says,
another big problem of corruption is Ghana still using outdated data, keeping millions piled of paper files, government officials and government institutions collecting money meant for the nation straight into their pockets. Ghana needs central digitization across all institutions and link direct to security agencies and police.
Basically, ghost account, ghost companies. Okay, there's so many of them. I don't have all the details, like in Ghana, right? There's so many accounts that are just ghost accounts. And somebody else, he just like collecting the money. Now, you mean ghost names? Yeah, ghost names, ghost accounts, ghost companies. Okay, so, and then the last one, all are part of Ghana downfall. I guarantee you, if you don't get rid of corruption, Ghana will never ever develop, regardless of the ideas. You see, one of the funniest things that I found, okay, this is my opinion only, let's minimize this, is that this government is the Ghanaian government, or the Ghanaian so-called, the people that are running the country, they are so clueless. They think diasporians, I call them diasporians, we, the African descent, living overseas, they think we can build Ghana. They think we can build Ghana, right? We're pretty much like tourists. We're pretty much like immigrants. We can never ever be able to build Ghana because we are corrupt ourselves. We are so corrupt, it's unbelievable. We're just another form of tourists. If you're telling all these Americans and the Black British, those of us living in Europe, come back home because you need our cash, right? We are just another tourist, and the tourist is a fool.